I asked 7 of my favorite artists to share some tips and hacks on how they make art. From coming up with your idea, to changing your perspective, to drawing better, and even how to hack your client's psychology into making them love your art. These pros are gonna bring you some of their top secrets for success, plus I'm gonna be sharing some of my favorite hacks along the way too. So without further ado, let's jump into our first art tip. We have Martina from NerdForge.
Tjena på er! I'm Martina from NerdForge. So, quick context. On NerdForge, our channel, we make a lot of stuff in 3D space, like armor, or miniature landscapes, or bookbinding. A lot of other stuff. But I also really love painting. You know, basically I could never just like pick one craft and stick to that. Instead, I'm just trying to catch them all. Now, if I were to give one art tip, it would be this. Change your perspective.
But Martina, what do you mean?
Let's say I've been working on a single piece for a few hours, and at some point, everything just looks wrong. The longer I look at it, the more wrong it looks. And I just cannot for the life of me figure out where the mistake is. And at this point, I got the good old painting blindness. And at this point, I'm probably also very hungry, tired, pissed off, and all the inspiration is gone. So what do I do then? Give up? No, of course not. But maybe grab a snack before moving on.
You don't want the shaky hands.
I simply need to change my perspective.
See things with fresh eyes.
And you can easily do that by mirroring the image. A simple way of doing that is, of course, take a photo and mirror the image. I like to go a bit more old school and use actual mirrors. So in my current painting setup, I have a mirror like right behind me. So at any time, I can just go turn around, look at the painting from a mirrored perspective, and go back to it. It just makes it so much easier to spot mistakes in perspective and proportions. And not to mention, I get to see it from a distance, so it's easier to get an impression of the composition, colors, lighting, all these things that actually make up the painting. Another way I like to find mistakes and experiment with my paintings is to combine the powers of digital and traditional. For example, I'll take a photo of a portrait painting that I've done, bring it into Procreate, and then I can play around with the proportions. Drag a little here, try a little there, figure out what's wrong before trying to fix that on the canvas. It just makes it so much easier to see your mistakes. And this also works great for when you have a painting that you're like, I don't know, 30, 50 hours into, and you want to make a big change, but don't really want to commit. You can just take a photo, make the big change digitally, and see if you like it or not. Then you don't have to paint over anything, and you don't have to ruin anything. And that is probably what has saved so many of my recent paintings from disaster. So remember, folks, change your perspective.
So here's a bonus tip. Clean tape lines. So you need to make clean lines or edges, but somehow, no matter how careful you are, there are always those leaky spots that seep under your painter's tape. Well, all you gotta do is lay down your tape like usual, but then reach for the matte medium. Slap a layer of matte medium on top of the tape. Once that dries, it creates a nice little protective barrier so the paint can't leak under the tape and create those ugly splotches. Then, lay your paint on top of the matte medium covered tape, peel your tape, and voila! Crispy clean edges every time. This hack legit changed the game for me. Okay, now let's take it over to the land of Germany to an artist, YouTuber, super spray paint soldier, Smonova.
Oh, hello, Mr. 1000. You want an art tip from me as a very experienced full-time artist? Okay, my main tip is never send full resolution designs to your customers. Never, never, ever do this. What I do is shrink the resolution so that he is not able to see all the details like the tiny screws and stuff, because then you are in a danger that the customer stands there when you're done and you say, oh, I'm finished, and then the customer takes out the design and then he says, but are there still some screws and isn't there more detail? I don't know why customers do this. This happened to me several times, not with this customer but with other customers. So what I suggest is, when you finished your design and you are ready to send it to the customer, do yourself a favor, select the painted part that you have in your photo montage, then you go to filters, filter gallery, and choose one of the options that you have here that make your design worse. Yeah, really, it is like that. You need to make it a little bit worse. You can choose how bad you want it. Of course, you don't want it as bad that the customer says this looks ugly, but you want to reduce the amount of detail. For example, I use Grobe Malerei. This is a German filter. I don't know how it is called in English, probably rough painting. And we say in grade 5. Suddenly, when you see this wheel, for example, if you send this to the customer, suddenly your artwork will be more detailed than what the customer ever had in his hands. And then you avoid this stupid situation that I had several times, that the customer stands there and compares the design to the painting, and then he says, oh, but wasn't there a little water drop on the leaf in the grass, or wasn't there a tiny bug on the branch? My tip for you is shrink down the resolution and always make them a little bit worse. This helps everyone. It helps you, it helps the customer to be happy with his artwork because it looks better, and yeah, it is just 2 clicks. I'm looking forward to all the other art tips. Peter, we see us hopefully soon. Bye.
Okay, I got another bonus tip for you. Spray paint gradients. They can be great for a simple background, they can be nice for a base layer of a sky or an underwater scene, they just look beautiful. So what I do is lay my canvas down on some cardboard because we're gonna get messy. I grab 3 to 6 colors that I think will look nice together. Then I grab a nice fat cap. This is a Montana level 6 super fat cap. This will work great. Then I cover just under half of my canvas, spraying from the bottom half of the canvas. Then I walk around to the opposite side of the canvas from where I was just spraying. I line up my can at about a 45-degree angle from the canvas and spray out at a slightly downward angle. I'm getting more paint coverage closer to me, and then it feathers out further away as it overlaps the original color. Then I grab the next color, move the can back from where I was just painting, and spray at that same angle using the same spray technique and letting that color feather out over the color that I just did. I keep repeating this process as I switch through the colors that I grabbed and continuing to feather the new color over the previous color that I just painted. And in the end, it looks like this. So satisfying. So beautiful. So if you haven't tried messing around with spray paint gradients, give it a try and see if you make something you love. Okay, now let's head over to the cutest and most talented art couple on YouTube, Evan and Caitlin.
Our art tip is to think outside the box.
For example, you can use anything as a canvas. We like to do art on toilets,
Keyboards,
keycaps,
tables,
tables,
stools,
tables,
knives,
phone cases.
tables,
Sometimes we've literally just looked around the house to see what we might want to use as a canvas.
tables.
And a plus side of this is every time you're using something unconventional, you're forced to learn new things.
Another example of thinking outside of the box is to use materials in unconventional ways, like following a Bob Ross tutorial but using resin instead of paint.
Flocking fibers on a keyboard.
Tungsten powder to make a dice.
Gingerbread houses out of resin or meat.
Now these are just 2 ideas to get you started. You should sit down, think about your art, and see what out-of-the-box ideas you come up with.
Okay, thank you, Evan and Caitlin. So, if I'm to understand things correctly, the secret to great art is tables.
Tables.
It's so interesting. That's freaking mind-blowing.
Tables.
That's what I've been missing all along. But speaking of what you've been missing all along, today's video sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is a website where you can build a website. Whether you're an artist or a maker, a photographer, a filmmaker, you deserve to have a beautiful website, and with Squarespace, it's incredibly easy. They have these award-winning templates. All you gotta do is drop your awesome content into their beautiful templates, and boom, you got a website. You need an online shop? Squarespace has amazing e-commerce options. And with their new Squarespace payments, you can take Apple Pay, Afterpay, Klarna, and so much more so that you have tools for people to be able to pay in smaller chunks on big ticket items, or the ease of having so many payment method options that there's no excuse for them not to buy your super sweet handmade kitten t-shirt. They have incredible image galleries for us artist types. They have scheduling, member exclusive areas, subscription products, literally so many features. Everything I've ever wanted my Squarespace site to do, I just search it up. Yep, it does that. And if it's easy enough for me to build a website on Squarespace, it's easy enough for you too. But if you ever do run into any issues, they have 24/7 customer support. So what are you waiting for? It's time for you to have a beautiful website to share your creative vision with the world. Go to squarespace.com to start your free trial. And then when you're ready to launch your site, go to squarespace.com/1000 for 10% off the first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you, Squarespace. Okay, now let's head back over to the magical land of Germany journey to an incredible fine artist, Alpay Efe.
There are a lot of great art tips and hacks out there, but if I had to pick one art hack to rule them all, it would probably have to be some sort of tracing technique. So here's the deal. Whenever you start a painting, most people tend to start with some kind of sketch or drawing, but I always advise people that instead of doing that directly onto your painting surface, do it somewhere else and then transfer your initial efforts onto the painting surface before getting started. In a way, you could say, preserve all the energy and effort you put into this initial stage before getting started. The thing is, if you start directly on the painting surface, there is always the risk of ruining it, and that creates hesitation, nervousness, stress. Using a tracing method that preserves your initial efforts will always allow you to start a bit more relaxed. It takes out some of the pressure, it helps you get into the right mindset, and also, very importantly, it allows you to start over. So whenever you feel like you've ruined it, or whenever you feel like, maybe I can do even better, you can easily and quickly start over. I personally love using a projector. Simple and straightforward. You can hook up your phone, your laptop, your iPad. You can project the image at a small or large scale, and then you just trace over the lines with like a pencil, a marker. You can use whatever you want. You can even use a brush and the same medium you're gonna use for the final painting. Charcoal transfer is also pretty simple. If you've never heard of it, you essentially take a piece of paper, you rub a bit of charcoal on one side, and then you put it between your painting surface and your sketch or drawing, and then you trace over the lines, not too much pressure, and then by doing that, you also transfer your drawing or sketch onto your painting surface and get started that way. Another traditional way of doing this is the exact same thing, but instead of using charcoal, you're using oil paint, or you use the modern version, which I also like to use, which is carbon paper. Essentially, exact same thing, but just the paper itself comes with a layer of carbon or charcoal on one side, and you can reuse it many times. Whatever it is, make the initial investment so low that you can start over anytime and you take out the pressure. So that's my hack for you.
Thank you, Alpay. Yes, pro artist trace. We do that all the time. I'm back with another bonus tip, and it goes a little something like this. Okay, so in the last tip, we made a spray paint gradient background, but what if we want to paint or sketch on top of this? Most spray paints are very hard to sketch on, and some make your acrylic paint bead up like oil on water. Simple solution. Hit the spray painted background with 1 or 2 layers of matte medium. This will seal in your spray paint, and it'll make it supremely easy to sketch on because graphite and white charcoal pencils love matte medium, and it will guarantee your acrylic paint doesn't bead up on your spray paint because certain brands of spray paint really don't play nice with others. Matte medium is magic stuff, and it makes almost any surface a bit more paintable, so this extra step of prep will give your paintings some pep. I just made that up right now. I'm an idiot. Okay, now let's head down under for an epic tip from a YouTube art OG, Jazza.
I've thought long and hard as to what art hack I want to share with you guys. I've experienced lots of little art hacks over the years, but there is a sort of mode of operating that I really live by and create art by that I don't always see other artists work in, especially people who are new to creating. So I'm going to make my art hack brainstorm sketching. When you're an artist, there are sort of 2 zones you tend to play in. There's the play zone and there's the pressure zone. And more often than not, especially beginning artists who see where they want to be, what they want to make, tend to go towards the pressure zone. The artwork I envision that I want to bring to life, the others I'm inspired by that I want to emulate. So you put yourself in this mode of working to your highest quality at all times, producing less, but to the highest standard that you can achieve. The problem is the pressure zone is way less fun than the play zone. And the play zone is where you produce quantity, not quality. And that is really important. There's this analogy, a parable, I'm not sure of the origin, but it's a really great story, where the teacher of a ceramics class divided his class in half and said to the first half, you will only be graded on 1 piece of pottery. You only need to produce one piece. And obviously they're going to be graded better the better that one piece is. So their whole focus will be on the one piece of pottery. The second half of the class, he told to make as many pots as possible. The amount of pots they produce will improve their grade, but in the end, it will still be one piece that will be their final grade. And as a result of that semester, at the very end, the single piece part of the class handed in some pretty decent pots. But it was the half of the class that was told to produce as much quantity as possible, whose final pieces blew it out of the water. The moral of this story is that as an artist, your path to quality is actually the play zone, is being willing to make mistakes and just get your hands dirty. And brainstorm sketching is the way to do that when it comes to illustration. So I'm going to talk about how to do it physically as an art process, but I'm also going to talk about the mentality, which is as much, if not more important than the physical act. Physically, brainstorm sketching is scribbling, it's doodling, it's being real scratchy and rough, but trying to do it quickly. It's throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And the most important part is that you're throwing a lot at the wall. Your first instinct will be to be neat. Ignore that instinct. Make it messy. And if it's hard to overcome that instinct, be intentionally messy just to push that instinct down. You really want to be loose in this process. And to be loose, you need to be willing to make crap. Then your next instinct will be to try the first things that come to mind. And that's good, that's important. Do that. It will be the path of least resistance to trying out your ideas. But after you get that out of your system and your pencil's moving along paper and you got some momentum building, move in directions you don't expect. Try things that don't initially come to mind, and it's also really healthy to try things you don't think will work. The main thing is keep your pencil moving, keep it messy and loose, and try to surprise yourself. The mindset that I would liken this to is like sifting for gold. Imagine you're a gold panner, and obviously the end outcome that you're looking for is gold, something valuable. But the only way to do that is to shove your pan in a bunch of dirt and sift through it. And it's messy and it's painstaking, and you're going to see so much more dirt than you are going to see gold. And that is exactly the point. And the deeper you dig and the messier you get, the more likely you are to come across the pieces of gold. Your entire concept will evolve as you loosen up your mindset and create the unexpected and explore in this zone of play where you're willing to make mistakes and try things that may or may not work. But it is the mode of discovery. It is how you stumble upon and create magic. Through being in this play mode, this brainstorm sketching activity will produce results that you start to like. And that's where you can start to sort of simmer it down a little bit, slow your sketching, be a little more refined, and bring your best ideas into something a little more polished. You can transition from that play mode across to a bit more pressure, but the pressure is way less intimidating because you know what works and you've already had some fun. So the next time you want to make something really cool and you know you really want it to be good, chill out about it. Go make some mess first. And the last thing I want to add is that it's a muscle. Everything is a muscle, including your ability to relax and explore. So if this isn't something you're currently comfortable with, don't worry. It's like going to the gym for the first time. First couple of times are going to be a bit awkward and you're going to feel self-conscious. Just stay the course and keep exercising both zones, the play mode and the pressure mode. It's only by doing it regularly that you will find your comfort in the process. I hope that hack is helpful. Now go have some fun and get messy.
I'm back with another bonus tip, and this time it relates to digital art. This one is the triple tap, and it's OP as hell. Okay, so in the app Adobe Fresco, which is free, if you're drawing with the vector brush and you want super crispy corners where two lines meet, all you gotta do is draw a little bit past where the lines intersect, triple tap this little circle that just sits in the corner of your screen that you maybe had no idea what to do with it, then just slash through the bit of line that you don't want, and it's gone. Oh my god, that's magic. Sometimes I'll draw a whole character with these crazy overlapping lines, triple tap this little circle, and then go on a satisfaction roller coaster ride as I hack and slash through all the line segments I don't want. Oh, and a bonus tip for the bonus tip, if you don't triple tap but just double tap, this brings up an eraser with the exact same settings as your brush, which is nice because the regular eraser tool has different settings than your actual brush that you've been using. So just double tap this circle for an eraser with the same settings as your brush. And now you know how to get these perfect corners, and you also know what this little circle thing finally does. P.S. It does something different for every single tool. Okay, and now let's head over to one of YouTube's most prolific and talented muralists for another epic art tip.
If there's one art hack that I'd love to share with you guys, it would be back when I was feeling a bit stuck and in a creative rut. Looking for inspiration, I stumbled into my local thrift store where I found a whole stack of National Geographic magazines. Looking for material to ultimately make a painting, I flipped through all these magazines and plucked out the most interesting images that tickled my fancy. Once I had a cool assortment of images to look at, I laid them all out in front of me. This not only helped me focus and funnel my creative energy, but it also helped me stay off the internet, where I can get sucked in very easily and just waste too much time. And so through all these images inspiring me, I was able to conjure up a really interesting composition based on the imagery in front of me. Not copying the pictures, but embracing what was there to transform it into my own thing. This one initial creative spark jump-started a 6-month journey of writing, drawing, and painting this cowboy story, culminating in an epic trilogy of narratively driven paintings and videos. And of course, we have our main hero here, small and mysterious when we start out, and then as we get going, it gets bigger as we learn more about him, and then our rising action continues, boom! And of course, our bookend shot of him on his horse facing this way, and then as he rises up, him off his horse, facing the other direction. And turned into one of my favorite projects of all time. And it all started with flipping through magazines. You never know where inspiration can strike, so don't wait for it, just go after it and find it for yourself.
Kipdo, what a legend. Okay, I have one more tip for you from one more amazing artist, but first, for those of you that have seen some of my other videos, you may have noticed this new set we built that's in the background here. Well, I have a full video going over this full studio makeover that we just did exclusively on my Patreon. It has how we made this set along with a full studio redesign of all the other areas in this space. That video is exclusively on Patreon along with dozens of other behind the scenes Patreon vlogs that we do. My Patreon also gets you early access to all my YouTube videos, along with access to a private Patreon Discord server where I hang out and chat with the patrons all the time. It gets you discounts on all my merch, it gets your name on screen in my YouTube videos, and even things like our monthly Patreon game night where we all get together on voice chat and play online games together. It's super fun. So if you want to support these YouTube videos and get a bunch of extra exclusive benefits, all for as little as $2 a month, you can go to patreon.com/10hun. Thank you so much to my patrons. And now our final tip comes from the incredibly talented, amazing artist, Jess Karp.
What's up guys, it's Jess. You might have questions on the best art supply or the tip or trick to get better faster, but let's think outside the box for a moment on the grand scheme of things. One huge tip that plays a huge role on us as artists is taking out the time and making space to get to know yourself outside of your craft. Get curious about your taste in things, feed your brain with new information, new knowledge, and new experiences. Remember that the life that you create outside of your artwork directly feeds into your creativity. This can look like the space or studio you build to help your creativity flow better. So one change that I made in my studio space is making everything easily accessible and at reach and super functional. So now all the things that I love to use personally are on my desk, easily reachable, and just the little space that I created for myself feels cozy and makes me happy. Be open to playing around to see what works for you, because it is an ongoing process that you'll kind of see what works and tweak around as time goes on. This can also look like the people that you shape into your life that inspire you. The people that I meet and places that I visit, friends that I make, reaching out to art friends or doing collabs with other artists all directly correlate to the things that I want to share too, because sometimes the stories that we share with one another, I'm running home and trying to capture that in my sketchbook. I've learned that once I started to carve out time for this outside of the studio, studio outside of my craft, it then makes room and space for things to grow inside of my craft. Maybe you want to try a new activity that's then going to feed into your creativity. I personally have a background in dance, a different form of art, but doing that and kind of stepping outside of the studio makes room for me to want to come back to the studio and then continue making art there. My journals and my sketchbooks have been places for me to escape to capture things in, to process things in, and also for things to be revealed to me in. So write about your feelings and use your unique memories and stories to birth the most beautiful forms of art. There are so many different ways that you can explore all different areas of your life. So the point is to just give yourself permission to explore you.
Well, that's it. You can check out one of these videos on the screen right now. YouTube thinks you might want to watch it. Thank you so much to NerdForge, Smo Nova, Evan and Caitlin, Alpay, Jazza, Kipto, and Jess Carp. I love seeing all these tips, tricks, and different perspectives on how each artist approaches their art. Thanks for watching, everyone. Catch you on the next one.